Okay, as far as the astronomy theories go, I think at one point in here the sun is the man and the moon is the woman. Do I mention the architecture theory? And also there's the sun, the moon, and the stars, the man, the wife, and the children. Although I think maybe at other times the stars refer to the people, but I don't know. Um, there is obviously he's making a calendar, like a religious calendar. The Enoch, the architect, Enoch, the calendar maker. Um, because again, this is the book of everything, right? I think he says at one point. Uh, you know, um, I mean, you could still stick with the whole. I mean, because there could be multiple meanings, and you could still stick with the whole. Sun is the masculine uh, aspect qualities of God, and moon is the feminine qualities of God. So there still could be other meanings to all this stuff. But this astronomy section is, mysterious to me. So I will just read. The sun goes from the third gate as it sets in the third gate in the west, but returning to the east, it proceeds by the second gate of the east for 30 days. In like manner, also it sets in the second gate in the west of heaven. At that period, the night is 11 parts, and the day 7 parts. Then the sun goes at that time from the second gate, as it sets in the second gate in the west, but returns to the east, proceeding by the first gate for 31 days, and sets in the west in the first gate. At that period the night is lengthened as much again as the day. It is 12 parts precisely, while the day is 6 parts. The sun has thus completed its beginnings. A second time goes round from these beginnings. Into that gate it enters for 30 days, and sets in the west, in the opposite part of heaven. At that period the night is contracted in its length a fourth part, that is, one portion, and becomes 11 parts. The day is 7 parts. Then the sun returns and enters into the second gate of the east. It returns by these beginnings, 30 days rising and setting. At that period the night is contracted in its length. It becomes 10 parts, and the day 8 parts. Then the sun goes from the second gate and sets in the west, but returns to the east and rises in the east, in the third gate 31 days, setting in the west of heaven. At that period the night becomes shortened. It is 9 parts, and the night is equal with the day. The year is precisely 364 days. The lengthening of the day and night, and the contraction of the day and the night, are made to differ from each other by the progress of the sun. By means of this progress the day is daily lengthened and the night greatly shortened. This is the law and progress of the sun, and its turning when it turns back, turning during 60 days and going forth. This is the great everlasting luminary, that which he names the sun for ever and ever. This also is that which goes forth a great luminary, and which is named after its peculiar kind, as God commanded. And thus it goes in and out, neither slackening nor resting, but running on its chariot by day and by night. It shines with the seventh portion of light from the moon, but the dimensions of both are equal. After this law I beheld another law of an inferior luminary, the name of which is the moon, and the orb of which is as the orb of heaven. Its chariot which is it secretly ascends, the wind blows, and light is given to it by measure. Every month at its exit and entrance it becomes changed, and its periods are as the periods of the sun. And when in like manner its light is to exist, its light is a seventh portion from the light of the sun. Thus it rises, and at its commencement towards the east goes forth for 30 days. At that time it appears and becomes to you the beginning of the month. 30 days it is with the sun, in the gate from which the sun goes forth. Half of it is in extent 7 portions, 1/2, and the whole of its orb is void of light, except a seventh portion out of the 14 portions of its light. In a day it receives a seventh portion, or half that portion of its light. Its light is by sevens, by 1 portion, and by half of a portion. It sets with the sun. And when the sun rises, the moon rises with it, receiving half a portion of light. On that night when it commences its period previously to the day of the month, the moon sets with the sun. And on that night it is dark in its 14 portions, that is, in each half, but it rises on that day with 1/7 portion precisely, and in its progress declines from the rising of the sun. During the remainder of its period, its light increases to 14 portions. Then I saw another progress and regulation, which he effected in the law of the moon. The progress of the moon and everything relating to them Uriel showed me, the holy angel who conducted them all. Their stations I wrote down as he showed them to me. I wrote down their months as they occur and the appearance of their light until it is completed in 15 days. In each of its 2/7 portions it completes all its light at rising and at setting. On stated months it changes its setting, and on stated months it makes its progress through each gate. In 2 gates the moon sets with the sun. In those 2 gates, which are in the midst, in the 3rd and 4th gate. From the 3rd gate it goes forth for 7 days and makes its circuit. Again it returns to the gate whence the sun goes forth, and in that completes the whole of its light. Then it declines from the sun and enters in the 8th day into the 6th gate, and returns in 7 days to the 3rd gate, from which the sun goes forth. When the sun proceeds to the 4th gate, the moon goes forth for 7 days until it passes from the 5th gate. Again it returns in 7 days to the 4th gate, and completing all its light, declines and passes on by the 1st gate in 8 days, returning in 7 days to the 4th gate from which the sun goes forth. Thus I beheld their stations, as according to the fixed order of the months the sun rises and sets. At those times there is an excess of 30 days belonging to the sun in 5 years. And all the days belonging to each of the 5 years, when completed, amount to 364 days. And to the sun and stars belong 6 days in each of the 5 years. Thus 30 days belong to them, so that the moon has 30 days less than the sun and stars. The moon brings on all the years exactly that their stations may come neither too forwards nor too backwards a single day, but that the years be changed with correct precision in 364 days. In 3 years the days are 1,092. In 5 years they are 1,820. In 8 years 2,912. To the moon alone belongs in 3 years 1,062 days. In 5 years it has 50 days less than the sun, for an additional being made to the 1,062 days. In 5 years there are 1,777 days, and the days of the moon in 8 years are 2,832 days. For its days in 8 years are less than those of the sun by 80 days, which 80 days are its diminution in 8 years. The year then becomes truly complete according to the station of the moons and the station of the sun, which rise in different gates, which rise and set in them for 30 days. These are the leaders of the chiefs of the thousands, those which preside over all creation and over all the stars, with the 4 days which are added and never separated from the place allotted them, according to the complete computation of the year. And these serve 4 days which are not computed in the computation of the year. Respecting them men greatly err, for these luminaries truly serve in the mansion of the world, 1 day in the 1st gate, 1 day in the 3rd gate, 1 in the 4th, and 1 in the 6th. So these are people who are admirable. Like, I don't know what's specifically going on here, but from what I see, these are people who are admirable, he's saying they're truly serving, right? No, they are. So in other words, most good folk don't think these guys are the admirable guys, right? Because these men greatly err, for these luminaries truly serve, right? So there's some ninja stuff going on here, right? Or that's what I think, maybe. I don't know. And the harmony of the world becomes complete every 364th state of it. For the signs, the seasons, the years, and the days Uriel showed me, the angel whom the Lord of glory appointed over all the luminaries of heaven and in the world, that they might rule in the face of the sky, and appearing over the earth become conductors of the days and nights, the sun, the moon, and the stars, and all the ministers of heaven which make their circuit with all the chariots of heaven. Thus Uriel showed me 12 gates open for the circuit of the chariots of the sun in heaven, from which the rays of the sun shoot forth. From these proceed heat over the earth when they are opened in their stated seasons. They are for the winds and the spirit of the dew, when in their season they are opened in heaven at its extremities. 12 gates I beheld in heaven at the extremities of the earth, through which the sun, moon, and stars, and all the works of heaven proceed at their rising and setting. Many windows also are open on the right and on the left. One window at a certain season grows extremely hot, so also are there gates from which the stars go forth as they are commanded, and in which they set according to their number. I saw likewise the chariots of heaven running in the world above, and to those gates in which the stars turn, which never set. One of these is greater than all, which goes around the whole world. And at the extremities of the earth I beheld 12 gates open for all the winds from which they proceed and blow over the earth. 3 of them are open in the front of heaven, 3 in the west, 3 on the right side of heaven, and 3 on the left. So the front, right? Which one is the front? 3. The first 3 are those which are towards the east, 3 are towards the north, 3 behind those which are upon the left, towards the south, and 3 on the west. From 4 of them proceed winds of blessing and of health. From 8 proceed winds of punishment, when they are sent to destroy the earth and the heaven above it, all its inhabitants, and all which are in the waters or on dry land. The first of these winds proceeds from the gate termed the eastern, through the first gate on the east, which inclines southwards. From this goes forth destruction, drought, heat, and perdition. From the second gate, the middle one, proceeds equity. There issue from it rain, fruitfulness, health, and dew. And from the third gate northwards proceeds cold and drought. After these proceed the south winds through 3 principal gates. Through their first gate, which inclines eastwards, proceeds a hot wind. But from the middle gate proceeds a grateful odor, dew, rain, health, and life. From the third gate, which is westwards, proceeds dew, rain, blight, and destruction. After these are the winds to the north, which is called the sea. They proceed from 3 gates. The first gate is that which is on the east, inclining southwards. From this proceeds dew, rain, blight, and destruction. From the middle direct gate proceed rain, dew, life, and health. And from the third gate, which is westward, inclining towards the south, proceed mist, frost, snow, rain, dew, and blight. After these, in the fourth quarter, are the winds to the west. From the first gate, inclining northwards, proceed dew, rain, frost, cold, snow, and chill. From the middle gate proceed rain, health, and blessing. And from the last gate, which is southwards, proceed drought, destruction, scorching, and perdition. The account of the 12 gates of the 4 quarters of heaven is ended. All their laws, all their infliction of punishment, and the health produced by them, have I explained to thee, my son Methuselah. The first wind is called the eastern, because it is the first. The second is called the south, because the Most High there descends, and frequently there descends he who is blessed forever. The western wind has the name of diminution, because there all the luminaries of heaven are diminished and descend. The fourth wind, which is named the north, is divided into 3 parts, one of which is for the habitation of man, another for seas of water with valleys, woods, rivers, shady places, and snow, and the third part contains paradise. 7 high mountains I beheld, higher than all the mountains of the earth, from which frost proceeds, while days, seasons, and years depart and pass away. 7 rivers I beheld upon earth, greater than all rivers, one of which takes its course from the west. Into a great river its waters flow. 2 come from the north to the sea, their waters flowing into the Erythraean Sea on the east. With respect to the remaining 4, they take their course in the cavity of the north, two to their sea, the Erythraean Sea, and 2 are poured into a great sea, where also it is said there is a desert. 7 great islands I saw in the sea and on the earth, 7 in the great sea. The names of the sun are these: 1 Araris, the other Tamas. The moon has 4 names. The first is Asonia, the second Ebla, the third Benase, and the fourth Arare. These are the 2 great luminaries, whose orbs are as the orbs of heaven, and the dimensions of both are equal. In the orb of the sun there is a 7th portion of light, which is added to it from the moon. By the measure it is put in until a 7th portion of the light of the sun is departed. They enter into the western gate, circuit by the north, and through the eastern gate go forth over the face of heaven. When the moon rises, it appears in heaven, and half of a 7th portion of light is all which is in it. In 14 days, the whole of its light is completed. By 3 quintuples light is put into it, until in 15 days its light is completed, according to the signs of the year. It has 3 quintuples. The moon has half a 7th portion. During its diminution, on the first day its light decreases a 14th part. On the second day it decreases a 13th part. On the third day a 12th part. On the 4th day an 11th part. On the 5th day a 10th part. On the 6th day a 9th part. On the 7th day it decreases an 8th part. On the 8th day it decreases a 7th part. On the 9th day it decreases a 6th part. On the 10th day it decreases a 5th part. On the 11th day it decreases a 4th part. On the 12th day it decreases a 3rd part. On the 3rd day it decreases a 2nd part. On the 14th day it decreases half of its 7th part. And on the 15 days the whole remainder of its light is consumed. On stated months the moon has 29 days. It also has a period of 29 days. Uriel likewise showed me another regulation when light is poured into the moon, how it is poured into it from the sun. All the time that the moon is in progress, with its light it is poured into it in the presence of the sun, until its light is in 14 days completed in heaven. When it is wholly extinguished, its light is consumed in heaven, and on the first day it is called the new moon, for on that day light is received into it. It becomes precisely completed on the day that the sun descended into the west, while the moon ascends at night from the east. The moon then shines all the night until the sun rises before it, when the moon disappears in turn before the sun. Where light comes to the moon, there again it decreases, until all its light is extinguished and the days of the moon pass away. Then its orb remains solitary without light. During 3 months it affects in 30 days each month its period, and during 3 more months it affects it in 29 days each. These are the times in which it affects its decrease in its first period, and in the first gate, namely in 177 days. and at the time of its going forth during 3 months it appears 30 days each. During 3 more months it appears 29 days each. In the night it appears for each 20 days as the face of a man. And in and in the day as heaven, for it is nothing else except its light. Now, my son Methuselah, I have shown thee everything, and the account of every ordinance of the stars of heaven is finished. He showed me every ordinance respecting these which takes place at all times, and in all seasons, under every influence, in all years, at the arrival and under the rule of each, during every month and every week. He showed me also the decrease of the moon, which is effected in the sixth gate. For in that sixth gate is its light consumed. From this is the beginning of the month, and its decrease is effected in the sixth gate in its period, until 177 days are completed. According to the mode of computation by weeks, 25 weeks and 2 days. Its period is less than that of the sun, according to the ordinance of the stars, by 5 days in 1/2 year precisely. When that their visible situation is completed, such is the appearance and likeness of every luminary which Uriel, the great angel who conducts them, showed to me. In those days Uriel answered and said to me, Behold, I have showed thee all things, O Enoch, and all things have I revealed to thee. Thou seest the sun and the moon, and those which conduct the stars of heaven, which cause all their operations, seasons, and arrivals to return. In the days of sinners the years shall be shortened. Their seed shall be backward in their prolific soil, and everything done on earth shall be subverted and disappear in its seasons. The rain shall be restrained, and heaven shall stand still. In those days the fruits of the earth shall be late, and not flourish in their season. And in their season the fruits of the trees shall be withholden. The moon shall change its laws, and not be seen at its proper period. But in those days shall heaven be seen, and barrenness shall take place in the borders of the great chariots in the west. Heaven shall shine more than when illuminated by the orders of light, while many chiefs among the stars of authority shall err, perverting their ways and works. Those shall not appear in their season, who command them, and all the classes of the stars shall be shut up against sinners. So I think this is prophecy part, most like. The thoughts of those who dwell on earth shall transgress within them, and they shall be perverted in all their ways. They shall transgress and think themselves gods, while evil shall be multiplied among them, and punishment shall come upon them, so that all of them shall be destroyed. That kind of sounded general right there, but I don't know. He said, O Enoch, look on the book which heaven has gradually dropped down. You hear that? He's telling you how to read this, I think. That's a key, like he's throwing the key right there, maybe. And reading that which is written in it, understand every part of it, a challenge. Then I looked on all which was written, and understood all, reading the book and everything written in it, all the works of man. That's a big claim right there. And of all children of flesh upon earth during the generation of the world. Immediately after, I blessed the Lord, the King of glory, who has thus forever formed the whole workmanship of the world. I glorified the Lord on account of his long suffering and blessing toward the children of the world. At that time I said, Blessed is the man who shall die righteous and good, against whom no catalogue of crime has been written, and with whom iniquity is not found. Then those 3 holy ones caused me to approach, and placed me on the earth before the door of my house. And they said unto me, Explain everything to Methuselah my son, and inform all thy children that no flesh shall be justified before the Lord, for he is their creator. Right, this is book propagation, right? He's getting into the mind of the man reading this. And the mind of the man reading this, his heart is going to soar at this moment. I want to pass on to my son. I love God. This is book propagation. I think, What do you guys think? And they said unto me, Explain everything to Methuselah thy son, and and inform all thy children that no flesh shall be justified before the Lord, for he is their Creator. During 1 year we will leave thee with thy children until thou shalt again recover thy strength, that thou mayest instruct thy family. Write these things and explain them to all thy children. But in another year they shall take for thee from the midst of them, and thy heart shall be strengthened. For the elect shall point out righteousness to the elect. The righteous with the righteous shall rejoice, congratulating each other. But sinners with sinners shall die, and the perverted with the perverted shall be drowned. Those likewise who act righteously shall die on account of the works of man, and shall be gathered together on account of the works of the wicked. In those days they finished conversing with me, and I returned to my fellow men, blessing the Lord of worlds. Now, my son Methuselah, all these things I speak unto thee and write for thee. To thee I have revealed all, and have given thee books of everything. Preserve, my son Methuselah, the books written by thy father, that thou mayest transmit them to the future generations. Wisdom have I given to thee, to thy children and thy posterity, that they may transmit to their children for generations forever this wisdom in their thought, and that those who comprehend it may not slumber, but hear with their ears, that they may learn this wisdom and be deemed worthy of eating this wholesome food. Blessed are all the righteous, blessed all who walk in the paths of righteousness, in whom no crime is found, as in sinners when all their days are numbered. With respect to the progress of the sun in heaven, it enters and goes out of each gate for 30 days with the leaders of the 1,000 classes of the stars, with 4 which are added and appertain to the 4 quarters of the year, which conduct them and accompany them at 4 periods. Respecting these, men greatly err and do not compute them in the computation of every age, for they greatly err respecting them. Nor do men know accurately that they are in the computation of the year, but indeed these are marked down for ever, 1 in the 1st gate, 1 in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th, and 1 in the 6th. So that's ninja shit of some kind, possibly. So that year is completed in 364 days. Truly has been stated and accurately has been computed that which is marked down for the luminaries, the months, the fixed periods, the years, and the days. Uriel has explained to me and communicated to me, whom the Lord of all creation on my account commanded, according to the might of heaven, and the power which it possesses both by day and by night. To explain the laws of light to man, of the sun, moon, and stars, and of all the powers of heaven which are turned with their respective orbs. This is the ordinance of the stars which set in their places, in their seasons, in their periods, in their days, and in their months. These are the names of those who conduct them, who watch and enter in their seasons, according to their ordinance, in their periods, in their months, in their times of their influence, and in their stations. 4 conductors of them first enter, who separate the 4 quarters of the year. After these, 12 conductors of their classes, who separate the months and year into 364 days, with the leaders of 1,000, who distinguish them between the days as well as between the 4 additional ones, which as conductors divide the 4 quarters of the years. These leaders of 1,000 are in the midst of the conductors, and the conductors are added each behind his station, and their conductors make the separation. These are the names of the conductors who separate the 4 quarters of the year, who are appointed over them: Melkel, Helamelech, Melial, Narel, and the names of those who conduct them are Adnarel, Gias-Susal, Giel-Lumeel, These are the three who follow after the conductors of the classes of stars, each following after the three conductors of the classes, each themselves following after those conductors of the stations who divide the 4 quarters of the year. In the first part of the year rises and rules Melchias, who is named Tamani and Zahai. All the days of his influence during which he rules are 91 days. These are the signs of the days which are seen upon earth in the days of his influence. There is perspiration, heat, and trouble. All the trees become fruitful. The leaf of every tree comes forth. The corn is reaped. The rose and every species of flower blossoms in the field, and the trees of winter are dried up. These are the names of the conductors who are under them: Barkel, Zelzabel, and another additional conductor of 1,000 is named Heloyalef, the days of whose influence have been completed. The other conductor next after them is Helimelech, whose name they called the splendid Zahai. All the days of his light are 91 days. These are the signs of the days upon earth: heat and drought, while the trees bring forth their fruits warmed and concocted, and give their fruits to dry. The flocks follow and yin. All the fruits of the earth are collected, with everything in the fields, and the vines are trodden. This takes place during the time of his influence. These are their names and orders, and the names of the conductors who are under them, of those who are chiefs of 1,000. Gedayel, Ka'el, Ha'el. And the name of the additional leader of the 1,000 is Asfael. The days of his influence have been completed.